Yeah, and I guess just to start with, how are you? How's the recovery from Istanbul been, and so what did you make of that whole sort of indoor season?
It's been good actually. It was fun to have a little break from training and to run some competitions. I really enjoyed that. It was also nice being in Istanbul. I think even though I got a lot of good races in and I won all my races, I still think that there was more in the tank when it comes to running fast times, because I think I was in really good shape, but as we also in Istanbul, there was some lactic in the end there because of maybe a bit too quick opener, but I think it shows that the speed is there, and I think to have that speed reserve when I get to the outdoors, and also when I get to run the hurdles, which is a race that I know more how to solve. I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah, that opening 200 meters of your final is the fact that you felt capable of doing that or in a position to go for it like that. Does that say a great deal about where you are just now?
Yeah, 100%. And I also think the good thing that I take with me from it also is how much I wanted to win that race. I gave it everything, and also in the end, when the lactic hits and you're screwed. That's also a time where you can see me working for it, and it also shows to me, because I didn't plan for that to happen, because I thought that's not going to happen, because I was in such a great shape on the Friday there, and I think it shows also how much I want this and how motivated I am. I'm not done yet, and I don't feel happy just yet. So I also like that. My reaction to it is to always fight for the gold medal, because I always try to win, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I remember speaking to your coach Leif Olaf
Mm.
in the summer there, and he said he'd had a conversation with you around, as you mentioned there, you've achieved a great deal in your career around, how much you still wanted to do, and how much the fire sort of still burns, and it clearly still
Mm.
does.
100%. And I think if it wasn't for that, I couldn't have put in all the work that I do. I think that I put in as many hours as I possibly can into becoming better, and to be able to do that without feeling that life goes by and you're missing out. I think you need to really want this. So I'm still there, and to me that's the only place I want to be right now. So I'm actually very happy with that.
Do you think it's part of a wider mentality in amongst sort of Norwegian athletes or from Norway to go for it in the way that you do? Because they're obviously you can look across a number of sports just now where Norwegian athletes are doing so well.
I mean, it's hard to say. Maybe yes, because right now it is like that, but I also think this these things goes in phases, right? It's probably not always going to stay like that, and then we will have good and bad eras of the sport. But right now it's probably better than it has ever been in Norway, and I think also people are motivating each other, and that there is a very hard work ethic amongst those Norwegian athletes that comes up right now, and performs on the biggest stage in whatever sport there is. I think there is a lot of inner motivation. We're lucky we come from a country where we have everything we need. We are safe, whatever. We are lucky in that way, growing up in Norway. Not everybody gets to grow up like that, and everybody here just gets to enjoy the sport, and we get opportunities, and it's the inner motivation that probably drives most of us, and it's probably also a good thing when it comes to sport.
Yeah, and it's been written about before that the the sort of the sporting setup or pathway in Norway is very much focused on children enjoying themselves first and then
Mm.
finding their sport. Was that your experience as you grew up?
To me, it was like that. I don't think everybody does it like that, and probably not everybody should, but for me it definitely was that way. My even though my parents, always supported and drove me to training and whatever, they never had great ambitions for my sporting career. I just got to do whatever I wanted in sport and found my way at the end. And I'm very grateful it's that way, because it also makes me a normal human being, right? With normal human experiences. And I think I'm using that very well also when I travel around the world running 400-meter hurdles.
Yeah. Is it hard? Do you find it hard to remain a normal human being, considering what's involved in the day job? And as you say, you're traveling around the world, you're doing these amazing things.
Now, to me, it's not. I think in the beginning, there's always like this breaking point for a lot of athletes, especially when they break through, about reinventing themselves almost, because now you have success, right? And there comes a lot of things with it. And I think there's a reason some athletes stay over years. I've been lucky, or I wouldn't say lucky. I would say, I'm lucky to have good people around me, but there's also a lot of good work in being yourself and continue to put in the hard work, because I had 5 or 6 years where I had progress every year, and if you look to many other athletes, they have 1 or 2 years on top and they're done. I think it's difficult to stay on top over time, and I'm very happy that, for me, it's not a big task to do that, but I can understand for a lot of people that it is. And also to me, in the beginning, I had to take some choices, but after that, it's pretty easy, actually. When you learn to live as an top sport athlete, and you actually find it funny, you find it more fun than to attend all these other things, so it makes it easier.
How different is your life, say, from even sort of 3-4 years ago? What's the wider attention like on you now?
It obviously changed a lot, especially with the breakthrough in London 2017, and this was also before Norwegian sport totally blew up. So I was lucky to be among the first, and I managed to make a name for myself, both through performing well and also hopefully behaving well, and now it's it's good. I'm used to it, and it's a lot of positive energy. There's almost no negatives to it for me. I found my place, and I found my way of doing things, and it's very appealing to me. It's a lifestyle that I enjoy as of right now.
Yeah, and when it comes to performance, and we touched on it with your in the indoors, so you're a very explosive athlete, and so a writer friend of mine described you as being one of the most violent sort of runners he's seen, because of the amount of energy that's involved. Is that kind of how you see yourself, and is it just that ability to go for it? Is that what sort of sets you apart, do you think?
To be honest, I think there's a lot of athletes around the world that has a bigger potential than myself from the nature side, and I think it's easy when you see a very, very gifted, talented runner who has all these things naturally, but me, it's something that I created over years with training, and it's always been me running because I really want to win and really want to achieve, and it's all this willpower going into my stride. And yes, I think it's violent. It's not something that I do on purpose, but that's the way I get out my speed. And I think also, from the first step, I think for me it's a battle to win. And when the gun goes off, there's no jokes for me anymore. This is all the hours that I put in, which is not a few. I just run with a lot of aggressiveness or whatever it is, but it works well for me. And I think if you also would feel my spike, a lot of athletes have tried my spike, but they can't bend the plate. It's the way I'm pushing every step. That's why I can have probably the stiffest carbon plate in the game, because there's so much power in each step, and it doesn't always look technically out of the school book, but it's the way that I run the fastest, and I don't want to change that.
Yeah, well, and somebody else that I saw remarked that you're an athlete that won't die wondering. It's
You want what?
that won't die wondering. That you'll.
No, I will be running. I will be running, and that's somehow how I feel. Also, it's like this is my life work kind of, and I don't want to put it into somebody else's hand to take care of that. I need to make sure that all the work that I put in hopefully will reward me with gold medals. And so far, it's been good, but it's also because of the attitude that we use in both training and also competition. Because this is not something that I just put on in competition. I need to be in that zone also when I train. Because you got to train for what you wanna do on competitions as well. So, I think I put a lot of effort and energy into my training and competitions.
Well, and Leif has described you before as having a brain that works a little bit differently. What do you think he means by that? And do you agree with him, I guess?
Yes, and I would definitely say the same about him. Probably even more, but I think we share a lot of the same mindset. First of all, we want to have fun and we want to enjoy ourselves. Never understand that. I think when at the end of the day, we always tell ourselves, it's not that important. We're not curing cancer or anything like that. So we don't take it too seriously. We are very into having fun, but at the same time, when we compete, it's also a switch that we turn over, and it becomes very serious, because sport is not important, but we choose to make it important. And whenever we race, we change a little bit over to that, but that is only because we play a lot, but we don't play when it comes to try and win.
Yeah. How difficult was last year, or certainly the first half of last year, for you with the injury? You're someone that sort of looks to have built this sort of image of invincibility, and obviously you'd been unbeaten for so long. So how difficult was it to process the injury and to have that setback?
Of course, it sucked. It's not something that I want to do again. But at the same time, being on top for that many years without injuries, it was probably something that would come along the way, however you see it. And I know that I'm not unbeatable, and I never said that, and I never thought that. But at the same time, I've been chased for the last 4 years. Everybody is trying to push me, and I'm trying to push the game as well. And what happens when you take like a rubber band and you stretch it all the way through? At one point, it will break. Let's just not make sure whenever that rubber band breaks, it's something that will end my career. It's just something that will take 6 weeks. And this was, it was a small thing because it only took 6 weeks. It sucks during those 6 weeks. And it was such a shame that the world champs was in July. It's never been in fucking July, right? So it's like, why now? It's like, and I had, from I got the injury until the World Championships, it was 6 weeks. And according to science, 81% of people pushing these injuries will get a setback. So that was also a very difficult thing, to be able to be on the starting line in Eugene almost on the day 6 weeks after it happened in Rabat, and be able to compete, and knowing, you know, that these guys have been able to run with confidence the last couple of months, you know, and me not being there, and they get the taste of gold as well. It's really difficult. So, but at the same time, you know, the 400 hurdles is on a peak right now with so many competitive athletes, and there's also something fun about it because we push each other. And what you've seen also, you know, I've had my injury. Now Dos Santos has his injury, right? Benjamin had his injury.
Yeah.
Samba had his injury. You know, a lot of the guys has had injuries, and I think, you know, they call the 400 meter hurdles the man killer, and that's mostly because it's super tough and it's a pain. But right now, I think we see also the other side of it. You know, everybody pushing each other, knowing that the bar is set to 45.94, and there's actually a lot of guys that can push that limit. You know, I'm not the only one. Whenever historically you would run 45.94, you know, the other guys would be 2 seconds behind.
Yeah.
Now they're 0.2 of a second behind, and it's a game changer. And I think whenever you try to push the limits, sometimes you will step over and you will get an injury, and that is probably what's going on in the 400 meter hurdles. And it happened to me as well.
How much did you learn about yourself in that sort of 6 weeks? Because the fact that you even pushed yourself to be on that starting line, knowing, as you say, these guys had their uninterrupted training, you know, the very fact that you were there probably says a lot.
Yeah, and I think what I learned is that you know, don't take anything for granted, because for all other years of my career, I don't have any troubles, right? And knock on wood, I've not had any troubles in my legs since that happened in Morocco either, and that is actually super tough, and you should really appreciate being healthy, and also I learned that that also, you know, a great work ethic can be put into also solving these things. You know, it's probably not going to be my last injury over my career. You know, I've had injuries before as well. You know, not that bad of a timing, but, you know, injuries will come, and I think to use the same approach that we use every time, you know, just that excellence is the only thing. You know, that's where the bar is set for us, and I think we can use that to become injury free as well. And it took us 6 weeks. After those 6 weeks, it was never a problem ever again. And that is also very important, because when you get an injury, people tend to get another injury, and they get another injury after that. And you have to try and avoid that. But, you know, there's no guarantees. That's why we watch sports.
Yeah. And well, and you mentioned about how high the bar is set just now. How much faster do you think you could go? How far do you think those limits could be pushed?
Whenever you ask, you know, Americans about this, you know, they will say, you know, sky's the limit, whatever. It's a long way down to zero, but at the same time, I know that I'm not going to run on zero, but I will do whatever it takes to push that limit. And I never thought 45.94 would be possible. To be honest, when I ran 46.70, I never thought that's going to be possible for me as well, or at least, you know, going many ways back. You know, my first gold medal in London, I gave it everything I had, and I ran 48.3. So this is also a journey where every time you manage to get to the new level, you learn that this is actually possible. And the other guys will also see that it's possible, so they will try to chase it as well. And this is how it works. And, you know, I don't think my world record will stand forever. One day down the road, somebody else will break it. And I'm happy for them to do it. You know, it's like, that's why we're in this game, to push the limits of what humans can do. And I think in the future, you know, the 400 meter hurdles record would be a lot better. You know, who knows, with all happening with shoes, all happening with the tracks. Also, you know, people seeing that 45 is possible. Who knows? But I'm not gonna guarantee anything. But I know that if I didn't think that I could push my limits, I wouldn't be putting in as much time as I do right now. So I really believe that it's possible to run faster.
Yeah, and you mentioned the shoes there. Does that debate get sort of tiresome? I know you've been outspoken about it before about how the footwear is changing things, or is that, or is that just part of the game now?
I think I'm the only athlete that's actually been honest about what shoes bring to the game. You know, all the other ones been real quiet about it. But it's a game changer for sure. But now I have the best shoes, so I don't care. But you know, that was the way we did to solve it. You know, it's like we had 2 seconds. Let me.
Sure.
Oh yeah. You know, it's like we had um, I was really stressed about this before going to Tokyo.
Okay.
Because yes, of course, because you saw all these prototypes coming up, right? And nobody had control. You know, the athletes didn't have control. A lot of brands didn't have, you know, wasn't on top of this, and I even think that, you know, it came as a surprise in World Athletics. But right now it's opened, and when I first, you know, got into this, because Puma has given me great opportunities to make a shoe, and now we work with this, and now, you know, I find it of course very interesting, and I like to work with it. But I will never say that the shoe doesn't matter anymore, because we already passed that point. How much does it matter? I don't know, and I think it's very individual. You know, some shoes work on some people, some shoes don't work on other, or the same shoe won't work on another guy. You know, that's what I'm saying. You know, as I was saying, I have a very stiff plate.
Yeah.
If I can bend that plate, you know, I'll get a lot of energy out of it. That's how the physics works. But if you were in my shoe, you know, you would probably just, I don't know, pull your Achilles or your calf or whatever, and you wouldn't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
You know, I remember being a decathlete and throwing with the carbon javelin, because everybody was saying how good it was.
Yeah.
But I was bad in javelin, so I didn't get anything out of the javelin. I was throwing better with the cheapest one. You know, so it's also difficult, but yeah, there is something to it. But now I find it more interesting than I did. In the beginning, I was just pissed because I didn't have the shoes. But now, you know, that every brand has had a couple of years to get into it, and they have, and actually a lot of brands has invested a lot. So I think that is also something that's good for the sport, that a lot of brands find this as a competition between themselves. Now, before it was only the athletes competing and they were wearing, you know, Puma or whatever it is. But now it's actually the brands wanting to compete against each other and making the best equipment. And it is also good for the sport. So I won't say that everything is bad. I'm just saying let's not live in denial.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm saying, actually. It's like development is good, but let's not live in denial.
Yeah. And how closely do you work with Puma on the development of your spikes? Is there a lot of sort of collaboration?
Extremely close, you know, especially the one that we built. Did you see it? We put #bullshit on it. Did you see that?
Yes.
And that shoe, which is now also a piece of art, I would say, we worked a lot. We worked a lot on, me and my coach live, together with the Puma innovation team, has put in, I don't know, but it's a lot of hours. I feel like my sweat is also in those shoes, you know. So that is a great shoe, and it's actually going to be commercially available, I think, in the summer. So I like it. Let's see how other people like it, but I think some athletes will respond very well to it.
Yeah, and there's another area a lot of discussion around in athletics is getting more fans involved in the sport and bringing a bigger audience to it. You're now an event organizer as well, you know.
Yeah, I am.
So if we were to, you know, put you in charge, what would be the first thing that you would think about for athletics, or I guess the quickest win for athletics just now?
To be honest, if I knew, I would have told you, and I would probably tell some other people as well. But I don't think our sport is in is in such a bad shape that, you know, some people talks about. And I think also, you know, whenever people are complaining, it doesn't make the sport more sexy, does it? You know, whenever somebody complains, you know, oh, people not giving me money, do you think somebody will just come with a big bag of money and give it to you? You know, you gotta step up and show what you can bring to the table. And I think there's a lot of great personality in the sport right now. I think there's a lot of cool meets. You know, we travel to the coolest city in the world. You know, we have Oslo, we have Stockholm, we have London, we have Rome, whatever. We have a lot of Zurich. There's a lot of cool places where the Diamond League goes. I think there are more and more full stadiums. You know, the world champs are going to be sold out, I guess. Whenever there is track and field in the Olympics, it's sold out.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that bad, to be honest. And I think, you know, if there's one thing I would stop doing, it's complaining. That's probably the only thing, because if we stop complaining and start doing something about it, we actually have a chance. If we complain, you know, nobody will throw money at you. I can guarantee you that for sure. And it needs to be results, and it needs to be an interesting product.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, what you see in the 4-meter hurdles, which was one of the events that actually was discussed to throw the event out. You know, I don't know if you know that, but I know firsthand that it was in the discussions. You remember when they took out some events, right?
Yeah.
And 4-meter hurdles was in that discussion, and now they wouldn't throw it out for anything, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That just shows that interest is created, and it's not going to be a constant. And I think, you know, we need to bring that with us and create interesting products over the line.
Yeah. Would you be interested in a Netflix sort of documentary style series? That I know that's been discussed as well.
If it was on the right terms, but I'm not interested in doing something just for doing something. It needs to be because I think it's a good pitch. You know, I've been making me and my coach Leif had a TV series in Norway back in 2020. You know, it was fun making. We're gonna do some more also in the future. But if it was, I think I would at least consider it, because it's interesting to show our sport from a different angle. But did you say there was like a discussion on having it on Netflix, or just like something
or something like that? You know, how Netflix, they've done golf, tennis, Formula One now. It's along something along those lines. And I know World Athletics have been talking to some people about it, but I don't know how close it is to becoming a thing.
Me neither. But I think it's a good way of thinking. You know, it's important to get the sport also out to the masses. You know, for people to see the sport not just live on television when the competition goes, but you know, the world now demands something happening all the time, and you know, we could probably do some more, you know, to get in there. But I think they're on top of it, or at least working with it.
Yeah. And just finally, what do the next couple of months look like for you before you head into the summer? Are you off to camp, or are you based at home for the next wee while?
Yeah, I was training the first day after Istanbul, and going to continue to do that. Put in a lot of work. You know, I'm back to a lot of the basic training to you know, build more of the foundation before the summer. Probably going on a training camp a bit closer to the season, and then start of the season. I don't know when. The first thing I know is Bislett Games, but let's see if I do something else before that. But with the indoor season, I'm not gonna rush the summer. I'm gonna make sure that I will be ready for World Champs this year. That's my main goal.
Get that gold medal back.
Yeah.
Yeah.